So now what I'd like to do is show you how to build up our imports to add a little bit more power and flexibility to it. What I want to be able to do is I want to be able to enter a category ID in the spreadsheet here, and as soon as I change the value here, what I'd like is this table to refresh, and I want to see only categories that are greater than or equal to my category ID that I type in here. So the way that we're going to do that, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to modify our query to accept an input parameter. So what we'll do is we'll take our query, we'll add a parameter, and we'll call this at category ID, and then we'll add a filter to our category ID and say where it's equal to the parameter greater than or equal to the parameter value of at category ID. So what this is going to do now is when the query runs, if I had a sample value in there of 2, for example, this is going to return us only the categories where the category ID is greater than or equal to 2. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now. And I'm going to bring up my imports designer. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to refresh my query. And I'm going to see that I've now got a parameters block on the canvas. And the parameter is associated with my query. So I'm just going to move this off to the side for a second. So if I choose my parameters, I'm just going to pick the value of 4 arbitrarily. If I go ahead and I run this now, we can see that I'm only seeing categories with an ID greater than or equal to 4. If I can put 6 in here, I'll run it again, and I can see that there are only 6, or category ID greater than or equal to 6. But what I want to do is I now actually want to associate this cell with my parameter value. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to give this cell a name. I'm going to give that a name called category ID. I'm going to go back to my imports designer. So for my parameter, I'm going to flip over to this selection tab here, and it says options provided by, and the default is user input. That's why when I pop this form up, I can put a value in that I want to see for parameters. But what I actually want to do here is associate this with a named range, and I just gave that name, that range a name, and it's called category ID. And the other thing I want to do here is anytime that cell value ever changes, I want to automatically refresh my query. So what I can do is I can now close this down. So anytime I change this cell now, what it's going to do is it's going to take the value in this cell, it's going to associate it with parameter in the query, it's going to run the query, and the results are going to be bound to this table here. So now I can just, whenever I want to, type in results, and if I put in a category ID of 10 here, and I don't have any categories greater than or equal to 10, and so I'm going to see an empty table. But then as soon as I go back and put in a good value, I'm going to see my results come out. So this is going to be a nice way to provide simplistic query tools that you can give to other users, where they can type in application values and see results come out in a nice spreadsheet form, and then they'll never have to open up any kind of query environment at all. So that's basically just how to associate queries with parameterized input cells.